understanding the body is learnable, is teachable. When we are teaching asanas, we can observe, we see, and then we practice. How about the mind? It is rather complex to teach about the mind. Therefore, it becomes a process of self-learning. We need to realize through self-learning. Supported by what? Supported by the reduction of restlessness in the body. The purpose of Hatha Yoga is to reduce the restlessness of the body. So the stretchings are done to stretch away the stresses and strains in the body. The process, the objective is to rejuvenate the body. Rejuvenation takes place by removal of restlessness, correct? Then when the body is in the relaxed state, it can support the pursuit of self-realization. But if the body is not supporting, still clogged up with lots of repression and suppression in the muscle structure itself, it's going to be a struggle. Then the other component of Hatha Yoga, which are the Shatkarmas, is to release deeper repression. Kunjal, Neti, the Shankha, all of that is to reduce the deeper repressions. So, after we have established that, then pranayama comes, and you will find that in the later sutras, Patanjali will also speak about the pranayama. What is the purpose of pranayama and dhyana? We have looked at the 5 vrittis. The purpose or the definition of yoga by Patanjali is chitta vritti nirodha. That means the vrittis that are forming in the chitta, in the mind. Mind is the canvas. The manifestations on the canvas in the form of different thoughts are the vrittis. Vrittis are the thoughts that manifest at the mind. So mind is the canvas, it's like drawing on the canvas. And then you rub, and then draw, and then rub. So what are these that you are drawing and then rubbing and drawing? These are the thoughts. This canvas does not change. Consciousness does not need to change, but the state of consciousness is evolved through the changes that takes place. So can we see the canvas? We are drawing. If the board is very large, we are not even aware it's a board. See, it's so large, and you draw and then rub, and you draw and rub, you don't see the canvas. So like that, the mind is so infinite. How do we see? How do we see when there is no more? Then you see and you look, oh, there seems to be this white board. I did not realize it was there. So as we keep on looking at, observing, and then not identifying with the thought patterns, not identifying, then we see the canvas, or we see consciousness. So what is the distractions? There are 5 distractions. One of the distractions, the first distraction, which also leads to, of course, it's a subconscious process. If we allow it as a subconscious process, then it allows us to work to the maximum efficiency at the subconscious. Don't bring it to the conscious awareness. So what is the first vritti? The vritti that leads to right knowledge. And then the second vritti that leads to wrong knowledge. The third vritti, no knowledge, sleep. Fourth one, imaginary, fancy. The fifth one, from the memory. These are the 5 thoughts, patterns of thought. We are not talking about thoughts, we are talking about the pattern of thoughts, and these, each one can expand through a variety of combinations and permutations into thousands of structures. So here he says, the stopping. So the objective is still to stop, is to still the mind, to keep the mind so still that the thoughts do not expand and eventually even dissolve. Then we can see our true nature. Otherwise, how to see the true nature? When the fluctuations are so much, how to see the true nature? But it's not an immediate process. We need to understand and analyze and eventually transcend these 5 processes. So it's not such a simple approach. Okay, understand, right knowledge, wrong knowledge, no knowledge, fancy knowledge, memory knowledge. We observe, we understand, we realize, and then we misunderstand. And again, we think that we understand, and we have some clarity, and then it becomes cloudy, and then again confusion, and then becomes a bit of a frustration, and then again a little bit of glimpses of, hey, maybe I think I understand today. And then a few hours later, I think I misunderstood, I understood. So like this, it seems to be like that continuously, but we do not realize that once we have embarked on this process of understanding, we are actually growing. But the standards and the expectations are so high that we feel that we have not grown. And this is also a mistake done by practitioners. So that's why Patanjali says that, okay, in order to do this, in order to understand this, it takes a long time, and it is done by these two processes. And one is Abhyasa, practice. What practice? The different practices of yoga. Asana is one practice, pranayama is one practice, yoga nidra is another practice, shatkarmas another practice, dharanas, concentration, introspection, discrimination between what is wrong and right, viveka. These are much more difficult to practice, but it can be practiced all the time. There are two practices. Breath awareness can be practiced all the time. Awareness of your posture can be practiced all the time. It's not only to be done during the asana. That when you are standing, talking, communicating, you are aware of your posture, and then you are aware of your breath. All these are also part of the pranayama and the asanas. So do not at all think that it is that which I do early in the morning or in the evening or once or twice a week in class. No, that is not the only asanas. Asanas can be done all the time, to be conscious of. When we sleep is also an asana. In order to sleep well, the asana that you perform is shavasana. Correct? Shavasana gives you such a tremendous process of attaining a good state of rest. How many of us can say that every night we have such good rest that when we wake up in the morning, we wake up on time and then we are fresh and feel such a good day to begin. That we are filled with so much of life. And if this is life and this is the purpose of life, then we have to be filled with life. So in order to feel alive, all of these technologies need to come into the picture. Then when it is clearer, you don't have to tell the person don't eat this or choose this food which is good for you, or don't have these habits which are detrimental to your health, or this kind of lifestyle. None of this advice need to be given, because one will know exactly what to do, because all other processes are supporting that love of life. What is this most important component? Is the practice. And this practice is so pleasurable. It is not tapas anymore. It is not austerity anymore. In the beginning maybe austerity, but after that becomes a pleasure. It becomes a pleasure to introspect and get these thoughts dissolved. These thoughts which are detrimental, dissolve it. These thoughts of sadness, dissolve. Once you have understood why this sadness comes, I understand now why this sadness is associated with memory, it's associated with some form of conditioning. I understand, I've gained clarity, I let it go. This is, what is this? The faculty of discrimination. What is right, what is valuable, what is detrimental, what supports your process of life within, what triggers your cortisol, what triggers the flight and fight mechanism. All of this you understand, because everything here triggers that. So this is viveka, discriminating between what is right and wrong, and then introspect deeper. When we are stronger, when our heart and emotions are stronger, we can definitely explore many of those thought patterns or emotions which we may still be keeping aside deeper in the recesses of memory. Can bring it up. Now I am stronger. I can now observe what is this, why it is still there, what is the purpose of this. I gain clarity and liberation of that. So all of this requires constant, beautiful acceptance of the pleasure of practice. In the beginning, is it pleasurable? No, it's not pleasurable, because the body and the mind is conditioned, it is habituated with those which are inferior to our existence. The worries, the pain, the suffering, the sadness, all of these are the ones that is coming all the time. Do you agree or disagree?
Yes.
So everybody is in a way trapped in this vicious circle of being attracted to the sources of pain and suffering. In a way, you find that it's an attachment to unhappiness. It's an attachment, an unconscious attachment to think that this is how it's supposed to be. That occasionally, once in a while, when we celebrate, let's say, a birthday, we feel happy. But every other time, it's just more towards unhappiness. So isn't that an attachment? It's an attachment. How to let go of that attachment to the source of suffering? Now, maybe it is irrelevant to you, because all of you have been practicing for a long period of time. So we can be confident, but not overconfident. We can be enthusiastic, but not over-enthusiastic. We must always be aware, but it's a pleasurable awareness, and this is again called that we must be detached from the sources which cause this confusion. And that detachment is the second word here. The first word is Abhyasa, practicing awareness, practicing, continue to practice. And please remember, practice cannot be something which is work-like, which is something where you force yourself, where I must have the discipline. Oh, it must be pleasurable, it must make you happy to practice. That is Abhyasa. I'm not talking about Shavasana. And then you have the Vairagya. So this next most important component is detachment. Don't talk about detaching from life, going to an ashram, going to a monastery, going to another place where I'm going to isolate myself or go to a retreat. I'm not talking about that kind of detachment. I'm talking about everyday practicing detachment. Detachment from what? Detachment from not practicing. We are supposed to attach ourselves to practice. Don't say, I want to detach from practice. I'm not talking about that. Detachment from all those sources which does not support your practice. That's the basic concept of Vairagya. That anything that does not support the consistent practice of the processes of evolution, which can make you happy. Why are we in this world? What is the purpose of this life? Is to find happiness, and through happiness to find self-realization. This is the purpose of life. Some individuals will say that through sadness I can also find self-realization. I'm not sure whether you enjoy that journey or not, but people may have had. But to find self-realization is not through sadness, is by overcoming sadness. That though they may have been having sadness, but every time they had this, they introspect, they understood, then they find the solution, they found happiness or bliss or ananda when they found self-realization. In order to do this, we must consciously dissolve all diversions, dissipations of our consciousness towards attaining this. This life is to attain self-realization, and it can be such a royal path. It can be a beautiful path, and when that beautiful path takes place in your life, please tell me, will others around you also will feel happy? Will they feel that joy of being with you when you are happy? Do you think? Actually, when we detach, love is absolute. We think love is absolute in attachment. Love is absolute in detachment. When I can detach from the suffering of the person, and then my complete love expands to that individual. When I see the sadness, my love withdraws and I feel sad. There is love, but the potential of absolute love has been reduced, sadness combined with love. But if I can detach that sadness, I can give my complete love to that person.